好，稍等，我先把这个腾讯会议先登啊。语课堂能不能在那里登？
在那里是不是你得码先放上来，然后他们扫码？
好，共享屏幕是吧？
对。
稍等，我先把这个腾讯会议先登啊。
然后我可以登录。哦，你这里没有语
课堂能不能在那里登？对。
哦，那里是不是你得码先放上来，然后他们扫码？
好，共享屏幕是吧？稍等，我先把这个腾讯会议先登啊。
然后我可以登录。哦，你这里没有语
课堂能不能在那里登？对，非得上。
哦，那里是不是你得码先放上来，然后他们扫码？
好，共享屏幕是吧？稍等，我先把这个腾讯会议先登啊。
你的那个账号是叫啥名啊？
没有语
课堂能不能在那里登？对，非得上。
哦，那里是不是你得码先放上来？
麦克就是
看到了，更多设为联系主持是不是？
这个 VIP
对吧？
联系主持，
啊，
对
可以了哈。好，那你现在看能？
应该就是管理员。
我们的公司拿着还是放一个在这？
放这里吧。这剩下麦，我看过了。好了，开始吧，试一下麦克。
我拿那个吧。
啊，
我看一下。好，大家坐好哈，我们的这个 seminar 马上就要开始。
把那边
用像个 whiteboard 那个白板。
哦 ，OK， 好，可以打，或者是。OK。你那边有那个1号笔，可能用。
我看一下哪个笔是吧？
对。我开始了是吧？你这边 OK 了吗？在那边可以问一问他的情况，因为我这边不好敲。应该能听到，应该都能听到。这边都是开的，是不是？那就开了就是听得到。哪一种？
默认麦。
对，默认麦。
那个麦克可以了。
就一个
啊，对，一个可以。
哎，他的有吗？
可以吗 ？OK。
我没有查啊，我只有笔。
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's seminar. We are thrilled to have you join us. Today's seminar is in collaboration with FEM, online public forum. For those who may not familiar with FEM is short for Frontiers of Engineering Management. It is a journal established in 2014. This journal is supported by the Chinese Engineering of Academy. It serves a platform for researchers and industry readers actively engaged in the cutting-edge management of all engineering disciplines. Okay, now we are truly honored to welcome our distinguished speaker, Professor Michael Pitt, who has been a leading voice in property research and teaching since 1990. Professor Pitt is a fellow of Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors and has contributed extensively to the field of facility management. Through his work on several high-profile committees, since 2008, he has served as an advisor to the FCPT at the UK Ministry of Defence, working closely with the supply chain. Today, Professor Pitt will present his work entitled Toward New Facility Management Opportunities and Challenges, Digital and Intelligent Application and Research. Without further ado, please join us in welcoming Professor Michael Pitt to begin his presentation. The stage is yours.
It's okay, Barney, he's on his laptop.
Okay.
Lose that. Oh, I need to get to the desktop. Can I exit or not? Minus? Yeah. Minus. Okay. Just one. I need which one is to start the start. Okay. Just to view show. So, you've got it down. That's fine. Yeah, that's the same one. 叶慧，这个是哪里能播放？这个播放吗 ？OK， 有没有共享键？用共享一下。OK。Need to share this. Share the screen. OK。这个都是一点或者是的。OK。Online, they can just see the screen. Right? Yes. We cannot see you. After the screen. Okay.
So I should say good morning in Cantonese and in Mandarin, but I apologize. I can only really speak English. So today I want to say good morning to you, and it's fantastic. I'm very excited to be in China, in Guangzhou, and in the beautiful campus that you have here today. As I came in, I've been to many universities in China over the last 10 years, and in the last 2 weeks I've been in 5 universities, and I think this is the most beautiful campus I've seen. So it's good to be here. So my name is Michael Pitt. I'm a professor at University College London in the Faculty of the Built Environment, which we call the Bartlett Faculty of the Built Environment. And it's called the Bartlett Faculty because 200 years ago, a builder, if you understand the word builder, hopefully that's what we're here for. A builder gave some money to University College London, and we started a new discipline in architecture, was the first thing. And now we have the biggest school of the built environment in the world. In the QS league tables, we're #1 this year, which is great. And normally in the QS league tables, we fight with Massachusetts Institute of Technology, if you know that, MIT, for #1. So this year it's us. I think 3 years ago it was MIT, but MIT is a very, very rich American university. So we fight with smaller amounts of money. So we're very proud to be #1 now. So I'm also, as well as being Professor of Facilities Management at UCL, I'm also the editor of the Journal of Facilities Management. And I've been in facilities management research now for, gosh, I think as the professor said a minute ago, around about 1990. But we launched the Journal of Facilities Management in 1999 to try and raise the level. And for many of you, you probably don't know what facilities management is. Can I just ask, is anybody in the room Could anybody in the room tell me that they really understand facilities management? And not surprised. Not a surprise. And so what I want to do today is I'll show you the books that I've written on digital technology, digital twins. I'll show you those in a minute. I'll show you a little bit of UCL's buildings and history, but then I want to help you to understand the management, because this is about management of engineering, why we do what we do. I'll explain that as we go through. So this is not going to be technical. This is going to be an understanding of why. It's like when you write a dissertation, when you write a piece of academic work, when you do a literature review, you need to position your work in the literature. You know that? So that a literature review enables you to say to people, this is the game, this is where I am, and I'm in the middle there. You position yourself in the literature. So I'm going to help you understand whether digital technology, which is the bit that we all get excited about, the artificial intelligence, the digital twins, the building information modeling, why we need that. And then maybe if you understand that, you can understand why we get excited. So I'm going to lead you through the research to show you what facilities management is and how we use that technology. No. So enter should move it forward. It's not. So you need to use the mouse. Okay. Just a bit of an IT problem there. So that if you want to contact me, that's my email. If you get really excited about facilities management and you want to join the team and do a PhD in London, stealing the students from China, sorry. If that excites you, then send me an email and let me know. So that's the two books that we've written recently. The first one there was written published in 2022, Digital Twins in the Built Environment. So that's the fundamentals, the principles, and the applications. So that's available online. I think at the end of today, I hope you can read that and understand why digital twins are important to facilities management. We've got another one coming out, in fact, next month, in about 3 weeks' time, which is Digital Built Asset Management, which is a multi-author book trying to bring together all of asset management technology and its uses. So that's due very soon. So what's UCL like? Has anybody been to London? So, you know, I think this is my 5th talk in 1 week. I know the staff maybe been. Nobody has ever been to London. So it's okay. Nobody's been. London is very, very different. You walk around London, there are people from every country. And when I was in Jinan last week, I never saw another foreigner. So it's very different in London. There are lots of foreigners, lots of British people who don't look like me, if you understand. They're British passports, but they don't look like me. So it's a very different world. And this is our world. This is our buildings. 200 years ago, a man called Jeremy Bentham helped to found UCL, and he founded UCL to give everybody, all of the people, the opportunity to go to university, because before UCL, only Oxford and Cambridge existed. If you wanted to go to Oxford and Cambridge, you had to be rich, you had to be white, you had to be Christian. It was crazy. Only a very, very small number of people could learn. So Jeremy Bentham said, that's no good. And he founded UCL 200 years ago with some friends. And then we developed. So the first bit that we built was this bit across the back here, 200 years ago. And then slowly we developed. We built this along the side. And now there are buildings here too. So we have this wonderful quad, this wonderful piece of grass where the students sit in the summer. Sometimes the sun shines in London, but most of the time it does not. But they sit here, it's beautiful. This is what the Germans did to UCL in 1940. We had the war with Germany, and so they sent the bombs over, and they destroyed UCL. But they only destroyed the buildings, not the heart of UCL. So we rebuilt, And this that you see here is this here. So this is a long time ago. I can't take the credit for this, but they rebuilt the whole of the university. So that's UCL. That's where I come from. So now to the hard bit. I'm going to try and explain to you what facilities management is. And I'm going to try and explain it to you so that you understand why we need digital management systems. So when we talk about facilities management, we talk about services management, which means in order to understand facilities management, you need to understand what a service is. So a service management, it's the core thing that we do. It's the main thing that we do. And it's, oh dear, hold on. Which one do I press to get rid of that? See, I can't understand what that says, so I could press the wrong one and close everything. Thank you. So it's about managing supply chains. So in simple terms, as you go through a supply chain. If you go to the shop and you buy a microphone, this microphone has been produced, manufactured using a supply chain. And then you're the user at the end. But all you see is go to the shop, buy the microphone. But there is a whole set of services that lead to being able to buy this. And that supply chain needs to be managed. So who manages it? And the answer to that is really it tends to be the manufacturer of this microphone. So everything that you have, everything that you see is part of a chain of services that are provided by different companies or organizations. That's really important for facilities management because in order to get services, we need to buy through these supply chains. Lots of companies involved in delivery. So managing supply chains is a really, really important part of facilities management. And digital technology, digital twins, help us to understand the efficiency of that management process. So, facilities management is focused on the core business of an organization inside a building. What do I mean by that? So, facilities management in this university is everything but not teaching. But the core business is teaching. So a facilities management person will do everything except teach. If you go to a car manufacturing plant, we have some big electric car plants in China now. If you go to MG, which used to be British, is a big name in the world now, thanks to China buying MG, which used to be British. Do you remember? Electric cars. I have two MGs at home, old ones from the 1970s. In the MG manufacturing plant, the facilities management is everything except making the car, not making the car. That everything else that happens is for me as a facilities manager. So that means I need digital systems to control certain services that I manage. So that's where the digital technology comes from. But it does mean that to be a facilities manager, you need to have a knowledge of business operations. That means if I want to be a good facilities manager for a university, I need to understand what a university does. So it's a really hard job. And then I need to understand the supply chains. There are thousands of books on supply chain management. If you're really interested, there are thousands of books on supply chain management and business strategy as well that you can get online. You want to really understand. But the facilities manager needs to understand that before they can move on. And that's why you need to know that sort of context. So what's a supply chain look like? So there's been a lot of research on that, but if we look at supply chain, I'm explaining a supply chain again. It might be if you want to buy some apples, which is a really simple thing to buy. Somebody will start in a field growing trees, but where do the trees come from? So you go back one more. So somebody has to plant some seeds in the ground to grow an apple tree. We'll go back one more. Somebody has to find the ground. So you find the field, you plant the seeds, you have to buy the seeds, you have to buy the ground, or be given the ground by the government maybe. You step forward, you grow the trees. Then when the trees are big enough, you pick the trees. Who picks the trees? Who picks them? You pick the apples. Who picks the apples? So you need to buy people in to come and pick your apples. Supply chain. Then you need, if you have a bag of apples, you need to move them to the market. So you need a lorry, you need a van, you need a car, right? So that's supply chain. Next one, that's logistics. Somebody's moving the apples. Then you need a seller, you need a market. So then you go to the supermarket or the market stall and you buy your apples. And then that person takes the apples maybe to a restaurant, maybe to a cafe, and you make an apple pie using the apples, or you make apple juice. And then in the cafe you sell it and I buy an apple drink. That's a supply chain. So you need to understand that in facilities management, the supply chains are a lot more complicated than that. And that's what we manage. They're far more complicated systems than that. So within a supply chain for facilities management, if we choose, they use apples, if we choose catering, restaurants, within facility,
没事吧？我没有投。
in order to manage it,
应
you
该没
need
事吧？你看 OPPO 都没
information,
事，我们两个过来
you need cost, how much have you got to invest? You need to understand the relational aspects. What does that mean? If you have a supply chain that is making food for you in the university, how does that relate to the core business? So if I say to you now, hey, let's have lunch in here, let's all have lunch, go away, have lunch, come back in 5 minutes. Eating in here and listening could be difficult. So you need to understand the relationship between the core business and the catering. So in here, a digital system, a true digital twin, will allow me to understand how this building is used. So I can see, do you bring food in? And if you bring food in, do you leave your food behind when you finish? When you leave? When you leave, does the room have these bottles left? So a truly
晚上是不是
interactive
有很大很大的饭
digital
局？
twin
需要出去
with a
搜秀一下。
live feed to a building will enable us to see how it's used to direct services to this room that are needed. So if you make a mess in here, my digital twin system can see the mess and order the cleaners clean the room. So it's all connected. So that's the relational aspect that we bring in with digital. And then we have this multidisciplinary, multifunctional set of activities, because you can't have catering without cleaning. Because if you have a room where you have a meeting, you need to clean the room before you eat. Otherwise, people will get food poisoning. So the digital system can program the services to be delivered in the right sequence. The sequencing in business is really important, that you do the right thing first. You can't buy a car until you have the money, right? So what do you do first? You go to the bank and you say, please can I have the money to buy a car? And then you buy the car, not the other way around. Right? So it's about sequencing, getting things in the right order. And there's a lot more here, the behavioural intangible aspects. It's quite complicated because behind services sit things that you can't see. So the intangible aspects are the things that you can't see and you can't measure. I'm going to leave that there and just move on because that's probably more complicated than it needs to be. So this is a sort of basic. Going back 20 years, this is what we established quite a long time ago, that we can have this strategic purchasing. Purchasing is the supply chain, the apple, from the land to the drink, the supply chain. So that is what we mean by strategic purchasing. And so when this is Danny Theng, who's a Hong Kong PolyU professor a few years ago, I think he's retired now. And we look at the needs of the client. By that we mean the core business, the university. So we focus everything, all of the services, in ensuring that the students get the best from the classes. So that's really, really important. And through that, carefully managing the supply chain, looking at the buyer-supplier relationship, the relationships up the supply chain, all of this needs to be managed. It's too complicated to do it in my head. And so what we need is a system, a digital system that will do it for us. And this is new to facilities management. How we do this is new. And ultimately, we're headed where the rest of the world is headed. We're headed towards artificial intelligence in some form. Because at the moment, what we see is machine learning, really. We don't really have systems that make decisions for themselves that are not based on the input of a human being. But the question is, can we get to the point where computers are doing more than simply making decisions that we could make, but we would take longer? So you see this in aircraft. You see this when you fly. The plane makes faster decisions than the pilot to avoid a collision. They have an automatic collision avoidance system when they fly. Faster than the pilot. But the pilot will make the same decision, but he'll take longer to make it. And it's too long. So the computer saves the plane by being quick, fast. But that's not AI. That's machine learning. So there is a difference. So I need to press into service. Once you've got service, you'll have everything else. So it's like a set of things that you do. So a service is not one thing. Like a supply chain is not one company or one organization. A service is not one thing. So if you decide that you want to clean a room, I know these sound like really simple services, but they're the best examples. Okay? If you want to clean a room, you think that's one service. It's not. Because behind it, there's a supply chain. Where do I get my water? Where do I get my bucket? Where do I get my chemicals? Where do I get my mop? Do I automate? Do we have robotic cleaning? You know, and there are robots everywhere in China. I see in the hotels that park and recharge and go off and work in hotels. So now we have robotic cleaners. So is that the solution? But these processes, more than one thing, can be managed through a thing called process engineering. So that's an established management principle. That the way to improve a management operation is to break the service down into small, bite-sized operations. Single operation. So do you need water to clean? Do you need chemicals to clean? So asking yourselves these questions and cutting out processes or adding processes to make it better or worse, more efficient or less efficient, but everything is focused on the operation of the university. So let me say, if the cost of the cleaning at the university was more than the value that it added, if cleaning didn't matter to the university, if you could still learn, if everything was dirty, we wouldn't clean. It's all about what the service adds. You will not have a service that adds no value. And value isn't just money. Value can be how many students pass their exams, how many patients in a hospital, an operation successfully. It could be anything. How much oil is produced on a platform in the sea. Probably from that. But remember that these things, as I said a moment ago, they can be tangible. Tangible means you can measure it easily. So I can measure how many people are in the room. What I can't measure is how many people are on eBay or whatever online market, how many people are on their phones watching a video. I can't measure that because I can't see. Intangible, how many people are thinking, oh no, I prefer civil engineering, this facilities management is boring. And how many people, it's intangible, I don't know. So there are intangible and there are tangible elements to a service. And you often can't keep them in stock. Once you produce a service, it's gone. But for people, it's what they can see that matters. So what can you see? Does anybody want to talk to me? Does anybody in the room feel like talking to me? What services have you got in the room now? Gary? The benefit of everyone online, everyone's looking frightened. 2 or 3 smiles. So I'll start you. I'll start you with one. One of the services is cleaning, because I talked about that. It's nice and clean in here, isn't it? This one? That's what we want. Air conditioning, which is digitally controlled in many modern buildings, centrally controlled in many modern buildings, from a dashboard system through a computer-aided, old-fashioned name for it, but a computer-aided facilities management system. So air conditioning, centrally controlled, and you can have zonal routing of systems to make sure this room is cool. You can also have intelligent systems, which will recognize when a room is being used, not just through a calendar, but also through movement detection. The same with lights, the lighting. So the lighting, the air conditioning, the cleaning. The bottles of water that are being provided, the seats, how comfortable they are. In fact, my friend Chen sat down, he said, this is very, very bouncy chair. So maybe you like that, maybe you want a third chair. But all of this is to make you have a better time at university so that you can concentrate more. This is facilities management, keeping the lights and the heat at the right level. Also the sound, the system here. So if I take this away, now you can hear I have the shout now. But if I don't do that, this is easier for me, it's easier for you, right? So communication, everything is part of the facilities management package. But it's that visible part that people like, and people understand. The bits you can't see, you don't care about. Never, ever, when you work in facilities management, do people come to you when you're a facilities manager and say, thank you for the air conditioning, or thank you for the lights, or thank you for the clean room. Nobody ever says that. All they will ever say is, the air conditioning doesn't work. The lights don't work. The AV, the audiovisual system, doesn't work. The room is dirty. They never thank you. They never say thank you, because it's hard to evaluate what you don't know you're experiencing. So customer feedback is always negative. That's the downside of being a facilities manager. Okay, so services have got to create value. I said that at the beginning, but there's this interaction with it. When you choose to use that service, it's you, by your presence, that creates it. So if we were not here, the air conditioning can be off, the lights can be off. As we entered the campus in the taxi half an hour ago, we had a very pleasant interaction with a security guard. It wasn't very pleasant, I'm afraid. I don't understand, was it Cantonese or Mandarin? So he was speaking in the national language rather than the local language. I didn't understand, but they tell me that he wasn't very friendly. But that he has two jobs. Number one, to make sure that the foreigner is supposed to be on the campus. I understand that. I understand that. So he has to be a little bit careful to let him be in. But that service that he provides is quite important. Because as I said to Long Chen, now, whatever happens, that's all you will remember. You can go into the university, you can have the best experience for the rest of the day, and when you leave, you'll remember, the security guard was rude to me. That's true. That's all you will remember. It's like a chain of services. And if one service breaks, one piece in the chain breaks, nothing else matters anymore. You failed. So that, it's not just this university, it's the whole world. Security is very difficult because they have to walk a line between being firm and saying no, and being friendly. So it's like any sort of police. It's very difficult to police things. So no criticism of that individual. But the creation of that service was our arrival. If we hadn't arrived, that service wouldn't have happened. And he added value because he made sure that the foreigner was meant to be at the university today. Okay. Let's just skip over that bit, actually. So what we're talking about, and this is where the digital aspect comes in. This is where if we have a digital twin that is alive and is working alongside the organization. So the digital twin is not just modeling the building. The digital twin is modeling the organization and the service through the organization in its pure form. So that takes it above a pure building information model. I'm assuming there's an element of familiarity here with BIM, building information models. I'm assuming people know what that is. Yeah. So with a building information model, it's a 3D drawing of the building. So we move forward from that to add to it the dimension of use within facilities management, the dimension of people moving around the building, and we can monitor moving around the building with smartphones. Everybody's carrying them now. I see places in the West, like Starbucks, are now announcing no more cash will be used ever. So everybody has to have an iPhone or a Huawei going forwards. So it's about, for service delivery, right service, right place, right time, right cost, doing it in the right way. So if you apply that to the arrival this morning, security, right service, yes. Right place, yes. Right time, yes. Right cost, I don't know. I'm not the facilities manager. Right way, don't know. No idea. Don't understand what the brief was. But maybe it was the right way to make sure that we didn't try and come through. Okay. Understanding how people consume services is a big part of what we do. Because different people consume in different ways. So I don't have a board run, so I'm only going to be able to do one diagram here. And for the people online, I'm afraid I'm drawing on a board, so they won't be able to see it, right? Which is a shame. So if you have your security service there, once you pass the threshold of the campus, then we have different people that will take different journeys on the campus. So what have we got? We've got students, we've got staff. Is there anybody else that comes in the universities? Guests. That's me. Yeah. So guests. Each one of those, there may be more, but each one of those three people, the sets of people are called stakeholders. Actually, you are going to have, you're going to have government as well, aren't you? You're going to have government officials, right? Which is a different type of guest. So guests are, you're going to have government, they're going to be more important, and then other like me. So your journey, because I'm not too far. It's not a permanent marker that I just used there. Oops. It's permanent. Yeah. We did it, right. Those people online, I've just destroyed the whiteboard. It's thousands of people. Do you want me to carry on with the permanent one? You sure?
Yeah.
Damage is
Okay. Now,
damage is done now, isn't it?
yeah, I think that will down the way to the.
From security, there are going to be a different route for everybody. So the students will take one route, the staff will take another route, and the guests will take another. So you can predict where those people are going to go, and you can predict what services they're going to use. So, and then when you get to a point where, let's say, the guests and the staff come together to go to a cafe, shall we say, food, here. After that, there will be a journey. I think that's a term we understand. There will be a journey to a WC, to a toilet. Maybe if you use the American word restroom, I don't recommend American words, confuse me, but if you understand that's a toilet or a restroom or a WC, there's also, surprisingly, when you go from food to a WC, there's a journey there. And in that journey, and it's there, you have a thing called wayfinding. That's how you find your way around the campus or the buildings. We have to manage that too. We have to manage everything. And it means that what we're trying to do with our digital systems is to understand the movement of people around the building that we've modeled, because we have a building information three-dimensional model, that we create a digital twin, and then we can monitor the movement of people around and manage the services. But this bit in the middle is a journey from service to service. And that's the new thing that we're beginning to introduce now. In that the movement is not just about wayfinding, but it's about opportunity. So in a commercial world, we'll come on to this in a second, just going to skip over that. Forgive me, I just want to come forward to this user pathway. So it's about understanding that we have from here through to here a pathway that we can predict. Now, in a university, you might say, well, so what? But what we can do is we can think about how we can use that period, that movement creatively. You might think, well, walking from the restaurant to the toilet is not particularly useful, and it probably isn't. But if you go back in the West to 40 years ago, a coffee break meant a coffee break and probably a cigarette 40 years ago, and probably no work. But then through management of time and process, coffee breaks became meetings. So they became productive times. So that people could leave their desks, which is a good thing because it keeps the blood moving around your body. You could go for a coffee break, but continue to work. So what we're doing here is we're looking at the journey and we're seeing where there's opportunity for people to contribute either to the organization or to their own lives. To their own lives might mean exercise. It might mean healthy food. It might mean that you need some time away from the desk. But if we can manage the journey, the key thing is there are 3 different journeys and two different types of guests. Each one of those will have a different journey. Managing that is the key to facilities management of the future. So I just want to give you an example of how journeys are already managed. So it's already being done in almost an accidental way, not in a deliberate way. So this is Kuala Lumpur International Airport, Terminal 2. It used to be like a bus station. If you go back 20 years, KLIA 2 was called the LCCT when I first flew through there many times, low cost carrier terminal. And in KLIA, they have produced a new airport, which is distinct from KLIA 1, because it's a different kind of airline. It's the cheap airline. You know, my favorite airline is Cathay Pacific, you'll be pleased to know. And other airlines like Air Asia, which come from Malaysia originally, a very different service. You pay a low amount of money, you get a seat and nothing else. So this is what KLIA 2 is about. But the journey here is where they create value. The journey is where the airport makes money. So when you arrive at the airport want you to spend lots of money, to get lots of bags, to do shopping, to drink, to eat, fantastic time, and get on the plane and go. Because if you do that, as you move around the airport, like on the diagram, they can manage you to make you spend money. Shops do this as well. I don't know if they do this in China, but in the West, shops at the checkout, they always put, Americans call candy, we call sweets, chocolate. It's the same. Why do they put them there? It's not because it's convenient, it's because they want you to spend extra money. And if you have children, you get, yeah, I want some chocolate, and you have to be very strong. So, no chocolate. So they're trying to almost trick you into spending money, persuade you to spend. And that's what this is about. When they move you through the airport, they make it easy for you to eat, drink, buy clothes, buy a new hat, buy a camera. And every time you buy from a shop at any airport in the West, the ownership of airports in China, I'm not sure about, but in the West, every time you buy from a shop, the airport make money, extra money. So they're paid by the airline and they're paid by the shops. It's quite an interesting one. That's why we need to monitor and we need to manage these journeys. So at the moment, FM combines with the core business to produce this mutually beneficial service that aligns. So we work closely with the core business, and at the moment we add value. What we're trying to move towards is creating this pathway. Now, this is a company called IKEA, which I don't think you do get in China. Okay, many stores of IKEA. Some people call it IKEA, but the correct pronunciation in Swedish is IKEA. And this is a fantastic use of management of space. Now, I don't know if the Chinese stores are the same, but in the West, what they do is they use this journey to confuse you. And they do mean to confuse you. They disorientate you. So in this room, all of the curtains will be closed. You can't see outside. You don't know what's up. You don't know what's down. You don't know which is north, south, east, west. And so they bring you in and they get you to here and you are lost. The only thing you can do now is continue. You've got to, and it's tricking you into buying things. It's getting you into the idea that this is a journey that you're on. So if you go to IKEA to buy, let's say, some chopsticks in dining, you have to walk through all of everything else. And you go, oh, that's nice, that's nice. And the disorientation, the spatial disorientation is really important because it means that you can't suddenly go, I've had enough, now I'm leaving. You can't do that. They've trapped you into the shop. But you know what? People love, the West people love it. They love the idea that they're inside this journey that IKEA has sold to them. So what we're bringing through with facilities management is trying to learn from IKEA, trying to learn from what the airports have done, which is really, really clever. And to move that forward to marketing and selling a journey through other facilities so that we actually understand and we can predict and sell journeys like IKEA do. You know, the other thing about IKEA, by the way, is that they sell things called Swedish meatballs, which children absolutely love. They're just meatballs. And you would think, so what? But if you speak to people in England, they've been so clever that people go to IKEA just to eat their Swedish meatballs. And then when they're there, they're trapped and they go around and they buy things. The business model is absolute genius, I think. I don't use that word lightly. So what we've got, like KLIA2. So you're selling a journey in its own right. So the journey from Kuala Lumpur to London does not start when you get onto the plane. It starts when you arrive at the airport, which has a big shopping centre attached to it. It's become a destination in its own right, which again is a really clever business principle. And the service permutations are infinite, so that you could actually produce a map for someone. Before they arrive somewhere, what do you want to do today? And you could use machine learning or possibly AI, if we get there, to actually say to someone, to learn about you, to tell you what the AI thinks is the world that you want to explore. So again, I know you have a different internet system in China to the West. So in the West, when you go online, there is like it learns about you. The system online learns about you and produces advertisements that are aimed at you, the things that you search on Baidu or on Google in my case. The system learns about you and throws them up. So there's a digital footprint of your searches that Google and Microsoft have. And so what happens in my house is really interesting, is my wife, in a completely separate laptop, can say, have you been looking at cars again? I'll go, yes, I've been looking at cars, because it comes on her machine, because they've linked my wife's account with mine. And so I have to be careful what I look at, because she always knows. Yeah? That's how connected the world can be. And it can go beyond that to a point where you could actually get to a point where companies can suggest, not just, hey, do you feel like 3 weeks in Sanya on the beach? Fly to Hainan Island now. It's wonderful. More than that, they'll tell you which hotel. They'll tell you swim with dolphins. They'll tell you you can fly in a microlight plane. All of the things that you've been searching can become your journey that can be sold to you. So that's the sort of the ultimate use, I guess. And you get this multiple level of experiences depending on your profile. How much money have you got? Google knows. Google knows because you search Ferrari, Porsche, or do you search Ford? It knows if you're wealthy, it knows if you're rich. Exactly. And so you can customize this level so it doesn't embarrass you by offering you a week on the moon for $1 billion RMB. It will offer you a week in Sanya because it knows you can afford to do that. And that journey is complete through the airport, arrival at the destination, through the facilities. So we get to a point where we get city centres becoming places of recreation. Now, if you go back 40 years, city centres were always in the West centres of recreation. Shopping was always something that people went and did, and then you would have a coffee, but it was different. It was like an afterthought. I remember being with my mother, which would have been 55 years ago when I was tiny. And when we went out, we would go for a coffee in the cigarette smoke-filled cafes that existed in Britain in the 1960s that have gone now. But it wasn't a plan so much as it's raining, let's get out of the rain. What I'm suggesting now as we go forward is that these new city centres, we're asking the question, what do we do today? Or in the case of facilities management, what do I need to do in terms of work today? And what's my most efficient journey through the organisation to achieve my goals? So it's this connection between moving from service to service, moving through the organisation, linked with your work goals, tied in to the digital twin technology that we are nearly at, that enables us to have this holistic system that produces huge asset value add. So this sort of thing needs to go through an app. I think my problem with apps, my problem with this is it feels old. Now I know that the clever ones amongst you will say, yes, well, that's an iPhone and it's the small one. It's an old one. That's very true. It's the old size of iPhone, but the most modern smartphones are not smart enough. And they're not smart enough because the interface is too slow. The future of smartphone technology does not lie in your fingers. It has to lie in direct connection to the people. Now, the technology for that is not quite here yet, but I think there has to be a time when we move to the one technology where we can visualize, we can connect in a different way. I realize we can speak to the phone now, but again, if you're on a train, it's inconvenient to speak. So there has to be a better way. And I think that interface, we need to change that in the same way that we need to change the way electric cars are charged in the West. I think the Chinese government have done very well in setting up charging points for electric vehicles, by the way. So it's sort of a universal booking and payment system. So it's about selling a journey, in this case, through some of the facilities that we see throughout the world. And in the work, it's about producing a journey that is most efficient. Now, I hope that that tells you what facilities management is. And I apologise if it doesn't. And remember that we take a year to explain facilities management to our master's students at UCL. So I'm trying to explain that to you in half an hour. And I hope that's made some sense. But that's why we write books about digital aspects of facilities management. It's not because the digital is magic, it's because the digital is useful. It's because it's a useful tool and nothing more than that. If you understand facilities management and you're excited about it, send me an email. It's always lovely to hear from people who are as excited about facilities management as I am. Some people will find that sad, but hopefully that's made some sense to you. Thank you very much.
Okay. But just the site for presentation for sales management. It actually provides lots of concepts, experience. You know that in the past decades, China has built more than 2 billion worth. 2 billion. That means it's very different. Hence, we need to find a way to not effective. Maybe no students, there's some questions. Okay.
Online. The interesting thing is that in London, the Chinese students that we have in London take 6 weeks before they talk to you. But it really, they're very shy. And then by the end, they're calling me Michael, high-fiving me. It's very different at the end. It takes 6 weeks of sitting there, oh, professor. But we're very informal in the UK, very informal.
We know that online things actually be in fact a lot. And we actually in our daily life we buy lots of things online. We do not need to go to supermarkets to that kind of things in China. It's very convenient. That means there are a lot of markets being effective, negative by the online. From that point, I want to say most of the facility owners, maybe their experience a difficult time. They're most important because what is your suggestion to just this kind of challenges?
So that's a really good question. And I think that there were always lots of different types of shoppers. Like there were always going to be students, staff, and lots of different types of guests. We only used two. So with shoppers, if you go back 40 years before the internet was invented in 1986. So if you go back 40 years, we're pretty much before the internet. And if I went shopping in 1986 to buy a shirt, it would be drive in the car, park, go into the shop, buy a shirt, come out of the shop, get into the car, drive away. One thing, hate shopping. My wife would drive to the shops, look around for 4 hours, buy a shirt, decide she needs 2 more. Okay, shop for another 4 hours, come back with 6 shirts, maybe decide she doesn't like 2, take 2 back. The shopping experience is a very different thing for her. It's not a male-female thing, it's just a personal thing. So I was never going to be someone who would go on a shopping journey. But some people are people who will always want to go on a shopping journey, who will always want to wear the clothes. So I think what the online shopping has done is to change things and force the industry, the shopping industry, to change. We do see a lot of shops closed in the city centres in the UK. Whether that is directly attributable to online shopping or not, I'm not qualified to say. It's not an area of research I've looked at, but it seems quite likely that there's a connection. But what shopping centres, and this is what I was talking about here, have been forced to do is transform themselves from purely shops to an overall experience. And this is why we need to sell the overall journey. But the thing is, within a capitalist system, change is quite normal. There's always change. Things are always moving. And that's because we have this new technology which changes the way we shop. And so the city centre's response has to be appropriate. Because we need city centres, we need places where we can congregate. And the one thing I can say is that when I talked about when I was 5 years old with my mother going into a cigarette smoky shop for a cup of tea, probably an orange juice, that would have been 1 or 2 places. But now, coffee shops in the West, in London, are everywhere. It's become a social thing to do. And it wasn't 40 years ago. Going out for food, yes. Going for coffee, no. But now the city centre is full of coffee shops and places where you can just sit and talk. So I think it's successfully reinventing itself slowly. But just let me add one thing. This change was accelerated by COVID. COVID made it faster. Yeah. Because I think people who still shopped in shops started shopping online, and many did not go back. And the same things happened with offices. The companies were overnight in March 2020 for the UK forced to allow their people to work from home 5 days a week. And once you work from home for 5 days a week for a long time, you get used to it. You become good at it. So we, as the university, I'm guessing you did the same, we did our lectures online. So I got used to speaking to a screen for 2 hours, where I couldn't see the people. Now, we don't do online lectures now, but we do other things online. We have management meetings. I think we have 5 a year, and 1 is face-to-face, 4 online. I have my meetings for my master's program, where I meet the professors from around the world who help me to manage the program, all online. Nobody ever comes to London. Everything is still on I'm not sure what the equivalent is in China, but we use Microsoft Teams to meet, which is just a meeting system that's quite common in the West. So that's changed the way offices work, so that people are no longer needing a set room 5 days a week. So there's a much more shared office space that's post-COVID. So I think in some ways, COVID was a good thing, I'm sorry to say. It forced us to change from old to new. So there were good things that came out of a bad place.
Okay. So, there are some questions.
Professor Pitt, I have one question. Building information modeling is widely applied in the construction of a building in China now, but it's far less engaged in the operation stage after the building is constructed. The construction is completed. I want to know what's your view on this phenomenon, and do you think building information modeling can play more roles in the operation stage of a building?
Thank you for that. That's a really good question. Thank you very much. So, building information modeling, we call it BIM in the West, is, as my friend has just said quite rightly, is used extensively in the construction section, the construction phase of the industry. And the real problem that we've got is that at the point of handover, where the build is finished, the construction is finished, and I get the keys as a facilities manager, and I get the BIM model. The problem is that from day one, that BIM model is out of date, because there are millions of data points in the BIM model. And from day one, if the BIM model tells me that there is an electrical access point here, then on day one, we have a problem with this point. Someone comes in and they change it and they move that point to there. My BIM model is out of date. So we have to have a system that updates. That's my first problem, that the BIM model is old. It needs to be dynamic. It needs to be auto-updating. And that's why we're moving to the idea of digital twinning, so that we have not just a digital representation. The BIM model is a snapshot, like a photograph on the final day, but we need to keep that model completely up to date. We have a real problem with that. And that's part of the reason we can't use it, because the longer the time goes on, the more things are not updated. Now, you could say that that's not a new problem. That was the same problem when we had paper plans. And that's true, but the paper plans never gave us a true opportunity to visualize the building in sort of three-dimensional context. And in the old days, if somebody fixed that, they would produce a piece of paper. And it would be highly likely that that piece of paper would never make it onto the main plans of the building. So we need to find a way to keep BIM models up to date before we can use them effectively in management. And that's why we need to move across to having a fully automated digital twin system. What's the solution? I think the problem is that for many years, the industry, the construction industry, needed pushing by the UK government into using BIM models just in the construction phase. And I think as long as we keep pushing for the use of BIM / digital twins in the occupation, the facilities management, if you like, phase, then I think we will get there. But you are quite right that we are not there now. And if I'm completely honest, I probably don't expect to see this operating extensively across Europe the way I imagine it. I probably don't expect to see that in my lifetime. But that's the aspiration, that's the objective, to get to the point where we can use them. But you've identified the problem very well. Thank you.
Hello, Professor. Thank you so much for your instructive lecture. I have a question. As an undergraduate, majoring in project management, how can, through your lecture, I can feel that maybe facility management is more like the interdisciplinary course subjects, but the more we can take is courses on civil engineering. So how can we improve ourselves or find solutions or find methods to improve ourselves so that we can work better on facility management? Thank you.
So thank you for the question. Good question. So you're a civil engineer, right? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. So civil engineers work with facilities managers on certain aspects of the job. So you are quite right that facilities management is an interdisciplinary field, and it means that we have to have a great deal of knowledge about a great deal of things. But in terms of civil engineers, I actually share a room in London with the former president of the Institute of Civil Engineers in London, called Professor Tim Broyd. So we share an office, and everybody shares an office in London because the real estate is too expensive, but we're good friends, so it's not a problem. But Tim and I work closely together on our master's program in London. Tim focuses more on the asset management, I focus more on facilities management. But the crossover is where we have larger facilities that are requiring both facilities management and civil engineering. So the management of a bridge, the asset management of a bridge. And I think it's an understanding that when civil engineers are looking at how to design a bridge, they look at how the maintenance could be performed so that the bridge doesn't have to be closed. Because what we need to consider is the service that the asset is providing. So a bridge is obviously providing movement. You have some big bridges around Guangzhou that are providing a journey from one island to the next. Now, if you wish to maintain those bridges, you want to keep the traffic flowing. And ideally, you want to keep 6 lanes flowing in each direction, so you never interfere with people's business day. Because remember, if a bridge closes, all of the journeys that we've talked about today are interrupted. And people lose money, or people lose organizational efficiency through the closing of that bridge. So when you design a bridge so that you don't have to close it for maintenance. I realize that there are some parts, like the actual tarmac, the surface, that you have to close parts of the bridge to deal with. But as long as the maintenance can be carried out effectively, that's number one thing. I think number two thing is you need to think about the future. So if you design an asset as a civil engineer, you need to think about the efficiency of it in terms of its lifespan and to the extent to which it's dynamic. So if a civil engineer was developing a tunnel, let's say, and I have no knowledge of civil engineering, so I'm guessing that you could build a tunnel where you could, there's a tunnel in the center of Guangzhou, which is like a roundabout. Is that right? Yeah. I call it a roundabout. don't know if there's a different word. What's it's called? Like the road goes round in a circle, underground. Right, the only person who's been in it. We went in it last night. Oh, road number 11. Okay. So road number 11 is a really good tunnel because you have different exits from the tunnel. But maybe if you were building a straight tunnel, you might want to consider whether in the future you may need another tunnel. So, and if you don't make the tunnel deep enough, maybe another tunnel cannot be taken from. So I think it's about future-proofing the civil engineering design to take into account whether the asset is needed temporarily. So if the Olympic Games come to Guangzhou maybe one day, some of the assets will be temporary. So you design that asset to be temporary, or it could become a football stadium like the Olympic Games stadium in London. But they didn't design it to become a football stadium, so it's a bad example. If you look on Baidu and you look at West Ham United, which is a football team in London, they occupy the stadium, which is right next door to UCL Campus 2 in the east of London. But football fans hate it because you're too far from the field. You can't see the players. The football fans everywhere hate the fact that the ground was designed for an Olympic running track and now it's used for football where you need to be close. So I think for a long answer to a short question, I think civil engineers need to think about the future, both in terms of use, keeping it being used, and in terms of whether it will be useful in 25 years' time.
Okay, first time reason. Yeah, thank you so much. That's it. So we actually get some souvenir for you.
Now I have to switch my job to Professor Yan. Okay.
Thanks again, Professor Pitt. The wonderful and relaxed presentation. And thanks for the advice to our university. Yes, maybe get back to relevant department. Yes.
We have bad facility management.
Oh.
Thank you for your.
The chair is broken. yeah.
接下来呢，就有我们请今天的第二位这个演讲
对，
陈博士。陈博士呢是在我们香港城大建筑跟土木工程系的先锋助理教授，已经拿到了教师了。他之前呢在拉夫堡大学，还有这个拉夫堡大学呢也任这个副教授，然后在拉夫堡大学还有一个 WTW 的一个研究基金博士训练中心呢，也作为副主任。然后在帝国理工学院的这个系统工程跟创新中心博士后研究员啊，也在我们那个叫艾伦图灵研究所的数据中心呢，也担任这个数据科学家的好学者。其实我们看陈龙博士虽然很年轻，但是经历很丰富。当然呢，他的本科呢是在我们那个清华人文大学校，然后呢在博士的时候呢是在港大，现在在港科在港城大这个工作。陈博士的研究的专长呢，就是一直从事这个数字监造跟测量，就是在我们这个 BIM 数据孪生、计算机视觉和数据驱动这块呢，做了一些非常深入的研究。目前的这个成果呢，就是作为负责人或者是项目联合负责人，或者是7个一个研究项目啊，超过了80万英镑的一些资助。论文呢发表了超过了40多篇，然后也参编了 这个部的这个教材啊专著。曾经呢也获得了我们这个在英国土木工学会给一个什么荣誉的奖章啊，拉夫伯大学的一些给的杰出表现奖和学院的早期职业成就啊，看起来还是这个在那个层面上已经是一个佼佼者。这个也获得了呢，就是 CIBWBS 的一些这个好像几次的这个最佳论文奖，获得了很多的这个成果。所以这个我们特意今天请来了这个陈博士呢，给我们做关于这个病到这个数字孪生这个方面主题的，也是他的研究的一个专长啊。非常的我也欢迎这个陈博士啊。
那我用英文哈，因为麦克风。So thank you so much, Professor Yan, for an introduction. I'm Long Chen, and you some of you may notice that I just switched my slides because I want to delete my US logo and change new logo of CTU University because I just joined CTU University Hong Kong last week. So I just fly back from UK to Hong Kong last week and joined CTU, and then I'm here. So thank you so much for invitation, Professor Yan and Professor Luo, and also thank you all for attending. And today I will give what's time now? Sorry. Okay, I'll give one short and brief introduction of my research. And this research has been already and presented before in some other universities before, and UK and China, Hong Kong, and some European universities. And so today I'll present again. It's from being to twin to digital twin. Developing digital twins for future infrastructure building environment. And Long Chen, so you just call me Long, it's okay. And I'm from Department of Architecture and Civil Engineering and CTU University of Hong Kong. And my email is here. So if you have any question interested in doing some research about digital twins or machine learning something digital issues, please contact me because I'm now recruiting PhD scholarship and postdoc and I now. So if you're interested for this, send an email. And so today I will very quick go through my research. First is my overview research experience. And my research is focused on the digital twin and BAME. So before that, I'd like to brief introduction about what is digital twin. So Michael has a very good introduction about the facility management and how to do the good facility management with the digital context. So how about digital twin? Digital technologies, because I'm more focused on technologies rather than measurement. So according to some definition, we have a National Infrastructure Commission UK, so have developed such a kind of reports that each twin is computer model that mirrors and simulates on the assets of system of assets and their surrounding environment. So we can see the digital twin is a mirror. So that's a mirror between the digital world and the physical world, or in other words, digital assets and physical assets. And in that mirror, because you have mirror, you look at the mirror because you can see yourself and see what is happening there. So in this mirror, you will reflect what is happening now in the physical world. So that's what we call digital twin. This digital twin is a digital mirror that can reflect simultaneously what is happening now in the physical world. For example, the location, site information, building information, asset information, and monitoring information. So that's why we call digital twins. There's a twins in the view. All right, if you know that, then we can move on. And UK, they have published some kinds of guidance for digital twin. A very famous one is we call the January principle. This, I think, is one of the earliest principles for digital twin development. So that means if you want to develop digital twin system, you need to follow these 9 missions, including purpose, trust, function, and that's 3 layers. Based on squares, we have line dimensions, public good, body collision, size securities, etc. And based on that, they first develop such a framework for the roadmap digital twins development from current state to future development of digital twins. And if you look at this timeline, that's going to be quite interesting because you may notice that before 2017, we always mention about BIM, building information modeling. So in UK, they have proposed a BIM level plan from BIM level 0, BIM level 1, level 2, level 3. If you know that, it's a step, level 1, level 2, level 3. And after 2017, we have established a center called the Center for Digital Build Britain, and they will propose a concept called digital twins. So then after that, the never mentioned BIM after the mentioned digital twins, especially National Digital Twin Scheme, NDTS, or DT. So that's what we call digital twins. So that's why we focus on digital twins. And when I moved from Hong Kong to UK in 2017. So this is one beginning of the digital twin stage. So that's why we focus on this. And the general things. So my research is focused on several aspects. I can say it's based on two research questions. The first research question is, yes, how did you do digital twin? How many of you have learned about Revit? How many of you have learned about cat joints before? Raise your hands. Have you used Revit before? Revit architecture? Okay. And cat joints, right? 3D cat joints, right? Yes, you know that. That's one kind of a building information model. And based on that, we need to first develop something embedding the building information model, and that's the digital twin. So my first job for my research is to develop digital twin based on the building information provided. So I have developed such kind of approaches, image approaches, laser scanning approaches, IFC-based, semantic approach, and digital twin approaches to develop digital twin based on geometric information and semantic information. Second thing, value of digital twin. So how to explore and use the value of digital twin to make our life better. So I propose three X: smart, sustainable, and resilient. So it's SSR or SSR. When I don't use SSR, it's like a game. So SSS, all right? And so I propose three case studies. One is about how to the smart living environment. Second thing is sustainable transportation. And third one is resilient city. And the first, based on that, we have to do more research based on digital twin. For example, how to using deep learning digital twin, etc. How digital twin to make more values of the infrastructure and also its communities. All right. Well, so the first thing we introduce is how to develop a geometric information based on digital twin, or how to develop a geometric digital twin approach. And the first approach we have developed is such as this, is what we have done and in our PhD research, is we develop a software and some algorithms to take information from images, and then based on the images, we can automatically to develop the FC-based BIM or digital twins, or geometric digital twins. Why we do this? Because that's 10 years ago, in that way, the laser scan is quite expensive. So it's really expensive 10 years ago. So we were thinking about, okay, how about we can use a cost-effective way and convenient way to collect information for digital twinning. So that's why we use such a system. Based on this system, we combine information from the cat joints. You can see version 1, and also the information from the images taken from the camera, from the phone or the camera. And you combine, of course, we have to develop some algorithms based on machine learning to recognize the objects, to recognize the materials, and also the location. Then we combine it together and rewrite in the IFC So you can see that the module 3, we have combined information from CAD drawings about geometry information and semantic information from the images combined together to rewrite in IFC here. Okay. Then we developed IFC-based data. It's now, look back to this, the work we have done 10 years ago. It's quite easy. It's easy thinking because we combine things together, rewrite IFC, but don't forget, it's 10 years ago. It's 10 years ago, there's no algorithms for IFC big models. And there's a few research about such kind of image to being research. So I think it's quite good in that years, 10 years ago. It's pioneer research in that years. And so based on that, just close it. Yeah. So we have yes. So we have developed a robustness segmentation and recognition algorithm for building components to increase the accuracy of that in the noisy environment. And then we also developed retrained build material classifier based on you develop the build material library. So we built a library and open, and it's not open now, but it used to be open. I think it's not updated yet. With high accuracy and less validation samples. And we first developed an automatic geometric digital training system based on the IFC schema. But the IFC schema is based on IFC2, IFC2, IFC2.3 and IFC4. That's old schema because, due to the time reasons. And now it's already IFC5. So you can use that from IFC5 now, so you give something for infrastructure. If any interest, you can look at publications. So I select some publication here. And also, then the laser scanners become cheaper and cheaper. So now we can use laser scanning. If you use laser scanning, so you can collect point cloud much more information than in the geometry information. So we can collect more information from laser scanner and to segment and identify the objects in the point cloud data. So we do this. We have algorithms to segment it and also to identify the different components of the infrastructure, especially the bridges. So we do some case study like this. So using bridges, we segmented the components of background, stack, grid, pipe, panel cap, and pipe. Okay. And further, based on that, we have noticed another one problem in our research. The problem is when you have finished the construction of your BIM model or your geometric digital model in other words, and now you find that okay, something's wrong here in your construction practice because you always notice that the contractor may not to do the construction work align with your design. So you may find some conflicts or rework need to be done and you need to do in the construction work. So how do you do that? How do you solve this problem? Because the design model is not updated. It's different from the construction work that has done on site. And the solution for this is we had to first develop research based on that. We using the scanning, we segment the pipeline, we use pipelines as an example. We segment pipelines and we develop some algorithms to identify the differences between the on-site model and the design model. And you find that, oh, if it's a difference, then we can update it automatically in the big model. And then in that way, you can keep your design model updated according to your construction work or as-built building. And this is quite helpful because in that way we can just hand over the information model from design to contractor and to the facility manager, and also keep a high consistency and accuracy. Yes, that's a summary. Just go up here. And second thing, what we've done. First thing we have, you want the geometric information, and then how about semantic information? For example, in this room, we have the geometric information about this lecture room, and how about the semantic information? For example, how about the temperature, about how many people here, and how about the humidity? So that's different because it's changing, it's dynamic every second. So how do you combine semantic information with geometry information to provide real live digital twin? If digital twin is live, it's not dancing, it's live because it can monitor what is happening now and change dynamic. So what we do is we do have sensors. We have your sensor network. We use Tencent Meeting as a case study, and then we combine the sensor together, of course. So we connect sensors in this building. We connect data, including temperature and pressure, something else, and indoor air quality. And then we transfer the sensor data to the cloud database. We use Amazon Web Services, AWS. And then we do a query system. So we combine also information from sensor, combine also information from the building management system, plant asset management system, and also the space management system, combine them together in the cloud base, and also QR code. And further, we do a query system to query information out to see what is happening, what is good or not. And in order to do that, that's very important thing is, if you do have sensors, you have sensors everywhere, but how do you know how to explain the data collected from sensor? Because, for example, if we in district, we have 10 sensors, one for demonstration, for lighting, one for temperature, one for indoor air quality, carbon dioxide, and people at accounts, etc. How do you know that? How about data? How to explain the data? How to know that, okay, this sensor is for this component, this sensor for us component. So how do you know that? We just develop such kind of an IC extension to extend the existing IC in IC4 and to associate the sensor data or sensor ID, because each sensor will have a different ID, unique ID. So we attach the sensor ID with the component ID in the model, in the virtual. So we can match them one by one. For example, we have sensor for components for bin. So we know the ID of this bin and know the ID of the sensor. So we match them. We know that sensor data is for this component. So we match them. And in that way, we can combine all the information, integrate the information from sensors into the building information model. And also we give some kind of algorithms. I'm not to introduce more details here because it's too complex. These algorithms will also help us to update the information collected from the real life, from the physical. In that way, it can update it, always update it from real life, so update the existing data, and we have an algorithm to reasoning what will happen in the future based on Bayesian network algorithms. All right. So brief summary here. Finally, I provide some case studies. I know the methodology is always very boring, so provide some case study and play some nice videos here. And the first case study is we have worked together with a team and to develop a smart living environment for campus, for Cambridge campus. It's digital for building environment. So we have developed such kind of digital framework, and based on this methodology we just introduced. And then we work with the team mentally and the team in Cambridge to work together to do up the platform. And this platform, as we just said, we collect all the information and upload all the information to the cloud-based database. And we collect information from the real-time sensor, from the QR code, all things here, also from the DMS, MS, SMS, also here. And then we have query system to query information from different components. So we can query information from the city, we'll query information from the building, we can query information from the access system, for example, the HVAC system, or for example, plumbing here. And we give us different functions in our system, including the civil level digitally. So you can see, okay, that's a civil, that's a Cambridge, because I'm living in Cambridge. So it's Cambridge here, my family in Cambridge now. I'm in my hometown. And Cambridge campus, and then we know the energy consumption of this campus or the community. We know transportation management of the city. And also, as we said, we have more details. For example, we can know the asset information for each asset, environment monitoring for the indoor air quality, and anomaly detection for the pumping system, and also maintenance priority system for the maintenance board. The video, and this is video based on UE4. If you play computer games, you play the Wukong 5. So that is UE5. Now this one is UE4. And this will work with the company in China to develop such kind of system for science park. And second study, we move to sustainable transportation. So sustainable transportation, we have worked with ICE and to develop a system called C-carbon system for infrastructure. What's it? Yes, infrastructure carbon footprint. So we know sustainability nowadays is quite important due to the carbon emission. So how to reduce carbon? And how to reduce energy? We just mentioned energy. Now we move to carbon. So how to reduce carbon, especially in the transportation? The transportation carbon emissions is one majority of the carbon emissions in the world. So now, what we're doing now is we develop such kind of digital system, and we give such kind of methodology based on the information. We develop such a decision tree. Then we will know how to copy out the carbon emission, how to predict carbon emission based on different scenarios of the transportation. We use a motorway as a case study, and we then develop such kind of systems. You can see that. So this is a motorway M1, A1 M1, and in London. So we do such kind of case study, and based on that, we can calculate out the carbon emission of different kind of scenarios. Yes, there's carbon emission of different scenarios. We can change it. We can change different scenarios. We can change the intensity of the cars, frequency of the cars, types of the cars, and even the weight data. We're changing this UV system, and we can recalculate out the carbon emission of different scenarios. That's a good prediction of carbon emissions and monitoring. For example, we can see how about the traffic influence on the carbon emission, the total vehicle carbon footprint. Let's change that. All right? And we can even change the weather. You see? In time, weather changing. So this simulation of weather changing. So in that way, we can have good prediction and monitoring of what is happening now on the motorway for the carbon footprint. And then based on simulation, we can make an informed decision to reduce carbon emission transportation. Okay. Just brief introduction about the final one within the city, because this is something we done at the very beginning. So we work with the Tideway when I worked at Imperial College. So we work with Tideway, and we use the Victoria Tunnel as a section, as a case study. And so we have sensors here in this tunnel. And we we developed digital system for this section to monitoring and the construction change of this section, and also the operation change in this section. What I mean? That means because at that time, this section is still under construction. But in construction process, that's the way maybe change, later design change. So sometimes they may change, say, okay, we don't need this one, we don't need this wall, or we change materials, or we change the pipe, the tunnel of this wall, or we change the pipes of this wall. So different changes. So we need to have the prediction of the impact of such kind of change. So we had done such kind of digital and to simulate the change, the impact of such design change and construction change. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have sensor here. So in operation, the sensor will collect all the data of the floor. And they will collect the pressure, quality, water quality, water pressure, water velocity, and water volume, such as this. We have 6 kinds of data. And then we can see how about the operation of this tunnel. How about the operation actions in this tunnel. And then we have prediction about, okay, based on this information, based on the operation data we have provided from the sensor, and is any impacts on the whole system, or in other words, with the whole system will work well in the long term. So we need to do a simulation based on information provided from sensor, and run simulation maybe for 1 year or 2 years to see, okay, whether the system still well. So that's what we do. And also this one is award-winning and research. So we just awarded this ICE and Just Bentley Prize for this project. And it's also ICE supported projects. It's not ICE supported, so it's not expensive. And we develop a blockchain for digital twin for the healthcare and management, especially the emergency management. And I think Rebecca Pace is also one kind of author for this paper. So we developed this a system based on the case study of 3 hospitals in London. And we developed digital twin framework. I have to say framework because it's not finished yet. It's a demonstration. But it works to connect three hospitals together and integrate the information systems these 3 hospitals together. So in that way, we will know how about the information, how about the emergency, especially the personal protection emergency, personal protection emergency equipment, and what we use in each hospital, and how to manage the emergency resources, especially in pandemic. We have a shortage of medical resources. So how to manage resources, not only based on the one single hospital, but also the whole areas. So we give the system, and we combine information together and information system together to manage medical resources for the rate of allocation and utilization. And summary, we go ahead. Yeah, I think we're touching time. Yeah, just in time. So thank you so much. Finally, as I just said, we can show this one. Yeah. Yes, this one. Finally, I just said, I'm Harry. I'm recruiting the PhD students and RA and also postdoc. So yes, indeed, it's true. So I'm Harry, and we are recruiting the full scholarship PhD students too, and 2 vacancies, 2 positions for this one, and also 3 RA and postdoc research fellows And if you're interested in that, that's the requirements. So this one, that's our requirement here. Yes. That's it. So it's more about a asynchronous, semantical understanding and SLAM, and multimodal data fusion and explanation, and also distributed information system, and cognitive digital twin, and some deep learning based Python prediction and analysis model. So if you're interested in this topic, please send email to my email address, and with your CV and your basic information publications. You're very welcome to contact me for any interest. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Luo and Professor Yan. And any question? 你们可以说中文。谢谢。
主要是就是在给我们一个很有意思的这种输入文现在它是我们是怎么变？我们是现在很多是通过三维模型，或者是通过有激光扫描仪，之前通过那种图片的，
对
就可以变的，不是一种新的一种。
包括现在我们还是更多是依照图像在解，因为香港基于香港特殊情况，它是一个非常复杂的那个扫描构造。你要真的去扫描的话呢，没法去扫。Sorry, my wife in Chinese to explain to that. 因为举个例子，譬如说你要 laser scanner 去扫，你不能每个房间都去放在 laser scanner 去扫，或者手持 laser scanner 是一个方法，或者手持摄像机，或者按你的 phone 你的 mobile phone 也是一个方法。这个呢会更加方便，因为你不用每个房间停留3个小时啊，留到另外一天，这是更方便的。所以这是我们现在正在做的一个，还是基于说图像为主来做 ，SLAM 为主来做。
其实我就想
这个
简单，那个是在图像做的这个推的过程中，就是因为这个图像识别的这个构建，我看你是用了一个编程那个几何的一个，把它3维建起来，就从图像是要导出这地方，然后把这个，因为我们想一个这样子。一个图像里边的这个元素，其实它的识别，计算机在识别的过程中是很困难。那你是基于后台是有一种大数据，还是你应该会有一种办法，怎么去把它构建出来？我想了解一下。
是有可能，因为图像提供的它的那个，不管是 segmentation 也好，还是 correlation 也好，它的精确度其实没多高，所以确实是用大数据在喂。特别是现在比较好的一种是用大语言 LLM， 就是大语言模型在喂。
那你大语言模型是要
先训练，
你可能要基于一个之前的某个大语言模型
再去喂它，对，就是喂出来。确实是喂出来。
好，看看我们在座的同学有没有对这个方面，因为我觉得数字孪生是以后的一个趋势，因为我们以后的管理其实都是基于这种数字化的一种模型去做。刚才我也提到了这个伦敦这个，刚才Professor Pitt也提到了这个 national editor，它是怎么做的？
是这样，就是这是这样的，就是那个英国前几年提出来一个 national defense scheme，他们主要是想干嘛？主要是想把整个国家的 infrastructure， 特别是重大 critical infrastructure 上的数据，把它集成到一个平台上。这个平台呢叫做 DAFI， 缩写叫做DANFI。达芙妮我知道那个达芙妮是那个一个输入品牌叫 DAFI， 叫 DAFNI DAFI， 这是一个国家的数字平台，它是可以说是一个国家的一个全部的 infrastructure network 的 database， 然后很多人都期待这上平台上面去做开发。
这是我们的主要的，当然还有很多详细的，但这主要是这样。
对，目的是想把整个国，
目的是想把整个国家都数字文化，特别是它更大的基础是数字文化，就是能够实控、实看、实查。对，这个是比较重要的，因为他们本来也想嘛，因为比较小，其实还比较好实现的，像我们就很难实现。
因为我们也提出数字中国这个东西，还有很大的
对，因为太大了，他们比较小嘛，对，并且他们也没有做其他，他们也就做了可能英格兰几个城市吧，也就这么几个城市，几个大城市，荷兰换一个市场英格兰，他们没有其他的，他们所有的 critical function 都在大城市。那他们其实很简单，他们只要关注到伦敦、伯明翰、利兹，包括纽卡斯尔，就这个斯特这些大城市就做，跟我们可能情况有点不一样。
我们要不要现场有没有同学有问题？这个继续来问。
博士好，我想问一下，就是你做那个数字孪生的项目，主要用的是哪种编程多一点？是 C# 还是 Python？
C# 做图像做多一点 ，Python 做算法。但是如果现在做 Snow 的话，我们用 Java script 做，用 JS 做，都可以的，因为不管是 C++、C# 是 Java，他们反正都是面向对象的。有点即时交通 ，Python 也是你学，所以不要紧张，还是比较容易做的。
线上，你们也有什么问题，我们是可以关注。
没有人留言吗？
我的时间差不多啊，差不多了。就这个，其实我们今天邀请了 Vice Speaker， 还有陈龙博士啊。Thank you very much for the first speech and Dr. Chen. It's a chance to communicate the United Kingdom to know some development with the country data from London from United Kingdom。接下来呢，我还有一个小礼品送给我们的陈博士。